Paul Blart has said that nobody wins in a headbutt. Well, Bonk does, and then again, everybody else does who knows how to do it and executes it properly. Yeah, no, I stitched this together using the 3-in-1 Duo demo. I'm not sure if the full games actually exist on that disc in any way, shape, or form, but I just decided to cut it with the introduction of the 3-in-1 Duo demo just to give it a little bit of character, and I'm going to do the Bonk's Revenge with the 4-in-1 Super CD introduction, the one with Bonk himself. The one that, curiously enough, I am not able to get to run on my actual Turbo Duo or my TurboGrafx CD, both of which have been recapped and had their potentiometers adjusted. And that is to say, it never seems to play that introduction in the 4-in-1 Super CD game properly. It usually freezes just before Bonk walks into the spotlight, and that is something that I just could never understand for the life of me. But then again, what can you do, It's a little too inconvenient, even though I have the ability to. I have DVD recorders hooked up to both of my gaming setups, at least as far as CVBS, RCA, red, yellow, white audio-visual connectors go. But, yeah, no, that over on the right-hand side of my apartment, if you're facing towards the windows, is where I have my TurboGrafx CD hooked up, and that one has a Toshiba DVD recorder hooked up there, and it's very difficult to get working properly, even though it says that it's compatible with DVD plus and minus R and rewritable. I have found that it only seems to work with, I believe, DVD minus Rs. No rewritables, believe me. I went through hell and high water trying to get a 2-hour video of Grandia uploaded, which is why it took me so long to beat that game. I was just so disillusioned and so stressed out with the terrible performance of my recording setup that I just let it languish for months, and over the course of the entire game, several years, 3 years and 4 months, I believe, yeah. So this is why I'm kind of blitzing through this library here. So I'm not going to go super crazy into the TurboGrafx Turbo Chip library. There's just too many of those games to get in, to beat and everything. It's just I'll probably beat, like as I said, Bonk's Adventure, this one, Bonk's Revenge, and then Bonk 3, Bonk's Big Adventure, which will be played as a CD image to get the better quality music there. All of these games I have as actual turbo chips, originals, not like PCE TG-16 or PCE Works reproductions or anything like that. Although, bless those people, they do good work. But I have 2 different reproduction copies of Magical Chase for that reason, because I sold my original copy of US Quest Edition Magical Chase back in 2015 to help buy a car, which as of right now was a terrible decision, and it was a terrible decision at the time. I with a very heavy heart, I sold it for a very low price, might I add. But yeah, no, so this is Bonk's Adventure. It is essentially starring the mascot, what you would consider for the TurboGrafx-16, in the same vein as Super Mario or Sonic the Hedgehog. Bonk's, he was pretty popular both in Japan and the United States. They had both regions had a couple commercials featuring him as an animated cartoon character, so that's really something, honestly, given the fact that the North American version, NEC Home Electronics, or TTI, that what it evolved into was didn't really seem to have a whole lot of money behind it, especially given the production values of games like Last Alert and Final Zone 2. So yeah, no, I'm going into more platforming games that I don't like to play because I have terrible eye-hand coordination, and I don't have a whole lot of patience, right? But then again, the cheats, the rewind, the save states, as well as probably the biggest thing again is the slow motion play that RetroArch offers, which I got to tell you, I would not be able to have gotten past those splitting apart blocks, those blocks that split apart. Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So and that was also that little swinging vine thing. The mechanics were kind of confounding there, because if you wanted to swing forward, you had to press the button when you were swung all the way back, and then if you swung all the way forward and you pressed the button, you'd be thrown backward. So that was kind of strange there. And also, just like with Camp California, I couldn't seem to fit into that narrow crevice between the clouds, right? Because massive clouds of water vapor and other gases are just so totally, they're impenetrable, you know. They're like solid rocks floating in the sky, you know. So this this boss battle kind of pissed me off, and kind of a weird looking dinosaur with like a French mustache, if they were trying to make it look like a, because they call it Gladys, trying to make it look like a female. Well, they failed, so. And then, like, honestly, damn those little raptor guys, I hate them. You know, they're supposed to, like, be analogs of you for some reason. But, wonder how that works. And those unbeatable cactuses, you know, it's just, it's the same in Final Fantasy. You know, you got those cactuses that do that weird little bent arm, 90-degree bent arm dance. Yeah, that took me a few times to get a hang of it. And yeah, I mean, you still have the turbo switches on the actual turbo pad, so you could actually do that on the actual console in itself. So that's one way. You know, it's kind of funny how, and especially like crossing that bridge of bones that would fall to the ground, and then you'd be able to skip a few levels. I was thinking, you know, if this is going to be my one single definitive playthrough to close the chapter on this game in my life, I might as well play as many levels that I come across just in general gameplay. You know, I'm not going to do the same thing that I did with Castlevania X, Rondo of Blood, or with the Super Nintendo version. Yeah, see, this is it, right? So I was thinking, like, man, how am I going to get past this? And of course, I had to look up a different video walkthrough, even though I was well familiar with the fact that you could jump up and then just basically hover through the air using that, that spin headbutt thing that would basically turn you into a glider, right? And yeah, you know, I gotta say that the sprite work in this is actually pretty good. Well, that's why they call me the Sprites Templar, you know, Skwatter from the Sprites Templar, right? You know, we've got some pretty nice artwork in here. For the most part, the game uses a good deal of the color palette, though other times it's like this, you know. It's like a maroon background with purple icebergs in the background that's barely just an ocean with like a few like jagged edges up top there. And then I just eventually figured out that you would need to ride on those blocks there. But you know, I was just thinking, whenever I came across bonus levels like that, I might as well do them. You know, just have beat 'em and cheat 'em bragging rights. You know what I mean? And there I go. I did it again. And here's another way that you can cheat on the bonus stages, just by hitting the turbo switches on the jump button, and then you can basically just endlessly climb up without hammering the button. Which, I mean, definitely, like, turbo switches, I mean, games are so much different nowadays, but turbo switches, I thought, for classic systems, they should have been included on systems as early as the NES, and you know, it's something that should have been implemented when the NES came over to the United States, but they did not. You know, they certainly do a whole bunch of revision of the, not necessarily the hardware, but of just the general look of the console, the shape of it, the contours of it, the case and everything. I mean, that, as I've said before in Rambles, that costs money. You know, you need to pay researchers and developers, you need to pay model makers, you need to buy machinery that will manufacture it, because I mean, again, it's like you're not just spray painting a PC engine black and just giving it a different BIOS, which I mean is still pretty anti-consumer, right? I shared a meme with my friend. It's I don't know who made it, but it's based off of it just has the characters from King of the Hill, Hank Hill and Peggy Hill, and Hank Hill or sorry, Peggy Hill says it's like the 32X was terrible, and Hank Hill says something like, "Oh, come on, Peggy. The 32X was arguably pro-consumer. I mean, who wants to buy a new console every single generation, you know?" And I'm just like, yeah, you know, like you can't argue with that, right? I mean, it was certainly cheaper than a new next generation console, and I mean, if it had been properly, you know, supported and people had enough faith in it, then I mean, it probably would have been a much greater success than it turned out to be. You know, I mean, you're kind of against between a rock and a hard place, because you would think that the 32X is arguably pro-consumer, and that's fine. And I mean, you know, it's like over 30 million people already owned a Genesis, so I mean, 150, or depending on what the cost was upon release, add-on sounds like a good idea. But then again, the Sega Saturn was in Japan already, I believe, at time of release, so it was only a matter of time before the Saturn would be released in North America, and that's fair. But of course, you know, again, what's also pro-consumer is the import scene. So I mean, certain people like Mel from Sega Lord X, he well known imported his Sega Saturn, I believe, as early as he could, right? At around the same time that it was released in Japan, and that's perfectly fine too, because I mean, you know, that's definitely a shot against the 32X. But you know, if you stopped people from importing it, then that would be anti-consumer, and I would say illegal in many jurisdictions. But no, I'm a big advocate of free trade. I don't want any kind of fees or import fees. What else is there? Duties, taxes, and stuff like that. Absolutely ridiculous. Like recently, I got Virtual Boys repaired. I bought a Virtual Boy, and then from the same guy, I sent my original broken Virtual Boy to him, and he fixed that one up too. So, while interestingly enough, I did not pay import fees on any of those consoles, whether the one that I bought or the one that I got repaired, regardless of whatever value was declared on the on the export or import form or whatever. I didn't say anything. You know, it was entirely handled by the seller. I know the unfortunate ramifications of that sort of thing, but interestingly enough, I bought an aftermarket stand and bracket and visor for one of my Virtual Boys, because one of them did not come with a bracket or a stand. That was the one that I bought. My original one that I've had for probably 15 or so years already had a visor on it, so I wanted to kind of have two fully functional, entirely independent Virtual Boys. So I went and bought pardon me, I went and bought a oh man, I lost my train of thought here. Yeah, the stand. So I bought the stand and bracket and visor, and that I was charged import fees on. I mean, it was about $85 Canadian plus maybe $25 shipping. So I mean, it's not the most expensive thing that I've imported from the U.S. I mean, the fact that I bought that Virtual Boy, it was over $200 Canadian, right? So, yeah, like I got hit by the DHL duty tax bug, so I got bitten by it, you know, and crazy. So I don't know how that's calculated. You know, they say that there's a Canada, like I don't know if it's the Revenue Canada or Government of Canada or whatever. You can go and do a duty and tax calculator, but it's never been accurate. Not at all. Never been accurate. So I've just decided not to use it and just hope for the best. But no. So I was charged $14 and something cents, one for $14. And the thing with that is, I was sent an email and a text message, and while I have previously prepaid, that is, the import duty tax fees from DHL, I don't know why it's being delivered by DHL. I just would have thought that it would be passed on to Canada Post, especially since I'm getting it delivered to the post office in my local neighborhood. But yeah, which I mean, like I'm not sure if DHL is going to deliver to the post office, because I've been told that the main reason why Amazon doesn't deliver to the post office is because it's a competing a company for delivery. So I'm just like, well, weird. Okay, like, so I don't know what's going to happen with it, but I said no thanks to it because there were a couple times within the past 5 years where I was let's just say I had a lack of judgment and a lapse in judgment, sorry, and I clicked on an unscrupulous email and put in my payment details thinking that it was from Amazon or somewhere else, and yeah, no, so I had to cancel my credit card twice within the last 5 years. Stupid me, right? So I just said, nope, I am not trusting any email or text, even if I have accounts with them and the address is the same and I'm expecting packages. Nope, I just said no thanks. So they say that it might take a little while longer, but they'll say that I'll just pay it upon collection of the package where my address was set out to be. So I said, sure, fine, okay, whatever. I'd much rather do that and be secure and safe rather than possibly have to cancel another credit card and then have to update all of my payment details, which is a huge pain in the ass because I am between vehicles right now. Yeah, so big waste of time and effort and money selling that Magical Chase edition was. So I found myself having not updated my payment profile. Like, I updated it in Google Pay, which, you know, Uber uses, which is where I sometimes use to go to places if I'm on a schedule and I don't want to need to worry about the bus. But yeah, no, I don't ever want to do that again. So, well, that's my ramble about this game, Bonk's Adventure. We're nearing the end of the video, so I'm going to say, alright everybody, this has been Skwatter ranting about nothing. See you later, guys. Peace.